Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to a very special edition of the Brew City Lounge. As always, I am your host, Brandon. You can go ahead and follow me on Twitter at Wisco_Brandon. I am coming to you live on location. It's the first time for the Brew City Lounge that we are live in a location in the city of Milwaukee. I'm literally looking across the street at the Milwaukee airport. Very excited to have you guys tuning in. I am live from In Plane View out in Milwaukee. Such an awesome place, such an awesome bar, amazing food and amazing service. So if you guys are in the area, maybe you drove past it, haven't checked it out, please stop in and tell them the Brew City Lounge sent you. Very happy to have you guys tuning in. If you are on the live feed, thank you very much. If you are on the live feed, drop some comments. We're going to be breaking down a lot of Bucks, a lot of Brewers talk, and I'll make sure I read them out on the air. We're going to have some guests kind of rotating in and out of the show. Again, we are live out at In Plane View in Milwaukee. A gorgeous, gorgeous evening out here in the city. And as always, a lot to talk about regarding the Milwaukee Bucks and the Milwaukee Brewers. The Bucks with a huge, monstrous, absolutely must-win Game 3 victory the other night. We're going to go ahead and talk a little bit about that, break that down, what we think going forward is needed with this team. And we're also going to look a little bit ahead to Game 4. What are the chances? What's going to need to happen in order to secure that win? And in my opinion, if they do win, is that going to be crucial to them winning the series? So we're going to go ahead and talk about that. The Brewers are currently playing right now. It is in the game right now. They are up 7-4. The TV is right up above me. So we are in the bottom of the 7th. So the Brewers look to win tonight. If they win tonight, they're going to remain the hottest team in baseball. So we're also going to break that down a little bit. They have won 8 out of their last 10. They're absolutely tearing the ball off the cover off the ball since that Willy Adames trade. So we're going to break that down a little bit. We're going to have a fun and interactive debate, and it's a heated debate. It might get a little bit heated. Is Giannis the greatest Milwaukee Buck player we have ever seen? And we're going to talk about that. There's a lot of opinions floating around about that. So we want your guys' thoughts. Adam, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you, man. Don't forget to follow the show on social media if you have not already. On Twitter, on Facebook, at Brew City Pod. Check us out on there. Follow for the latest Bucks and Brewers news. Also out on YouTube. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can search for us on YouTube at Brew City Lounge. Appreciate all that. Real quick before we dive into all the other stuff, just want to make the quick announcement, as I do every show, and you guys are probably sick of hearing about it by now. The show has its own merchandise. I'm out here wearing the Brew City Lounge merchandise. Hop on over there. The link is pinned on the Facebook and the Twitter. So go check it out. Hoodies, shorts, tank tops, T-shirts. There's beer mugs, coffee mugs, all kinds of stuff. So please check it out. As always, thank you to the sponsors of the show as well. One Call Technology. Please drop over there, give them a call, leader in cable and phone. You can call them at 888-585-8850 for all your needs. Adam and the boys over there, Steven, they do a phenomenal job. Go ahead and check them out. And also shout out to Fanatics. Best time of the year to buy apparel. They got a super sale going on right now. Again, that link is also pinned at the top of the social media pages. Check that out. Brew City Lounge has some cool stuff in there as well. So again, going to break it down real quick for you. The Bucks win Game 3, an absolute must-win game in Game 3. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And you guys heard me on the pregame show with that game. I didn't care how they won. I didn't care if they won by 1 or 30, as Coach Bud and Giannis like to say after the big loss in Game 2. What mattered in that game was walking out with a victory. And if you heard Drew Holiday after the game talk about mucking up the game, creating a little bit, had to be ugly, but it had to happen. And even though they did not win pretty, again, they shot really poorly throughout that game. Now, keep in mind that first quarter, Giannis and Chris Middleton kept them afloat. The Bucks scored 30 points in that first quarter, and Chris Middleton and Giannis had all 30 of those points. So, and when there's games like that, when it comes down to a must-win, you're in front of the home crowd, the first sellout crowd in the Pfizer Forum since obviously pre-COVID. So it was absolutely huge to get that crowd in there. The first quarter was going to be your test. What was going to happen going into that first quarter? Were they going to come out swinging? Was it going to be a game where they obviously needed to come out and hit big shots, and they needed their superstars, more importantly than anything, to step up and produce a huge win? And obviously Chris Middleton and Giannis answered that bell. And real quick, the Bucks made history in that game as well. Now, if you watch the game, you probably already know they scored 79% of the Bucks 86 points. So if that tells you anything about how the shooting performance and guys like Drew Holiday and Bryn Forbes and Bobby Portis, they obviously need to step up. So that's going to be important going forward. I think going forward, you're going to see a better game out of them out of game 4. But look, driving around, listen to the local radio, and I live out in Milwaukee, so you guys know what radio stations that I listen to. It felt like driving around the town, around the city, it felt like the Milwaukee Bucks lost, and it was something that I never really understood and something I never will understand. There's two things about it that really irked me a little bit about it, and then we'll talk a little bit more about that game. Is number one, where as Bucks fans do we get to be spoiled? Where are we entitled to be upset about winning an ugly game? Look, PJ Tucker kept Kevin Durant from shooting under 40%. Kyrie Irving shot 9 out of 22, courtesy of Drew Holiday's defense. I don't care how you win that game. The biggest thing was to win that game. No matter what you did, you had to win that game. And I don't want fans to think that you need to win by 30 in order to win and be successful. It doesn't matter in the playoffs what you win by, because we have been on both sides of the spectrum, unfortunately, with those last second. Obviously, games 1 and 2, Brooklyn blew us out. I feel much better winning a game, like Drew Holiday said after the game, mucking it up a little bit. If that's what you need to do in order to, win the series, maybe win game 4. I'm going to tell you right now, if they win game 4, if the Milwaukee Bucks do win game 4, I do believe they win this series. And I said it after the post game. Look, Brooklyn is supposed to be here. Brooklyn is supposed to go to the finals. Brooklyn is supposed to win the NBA finals. You have the best scorer in the NBA, maybe in the history of the game. You have a top 3 point guard. Maybe 2 of them if you add in a healthy James Harden. Now, James Harden is out of game 4. Jeff Green is questionable. So what does that mean going forward? I guess we'll see. But Brooklyn is supposed to be here. This is what they're supposed to do. All the pressure's on Brooklyn. You win game 4 in Milwaukee, 2 p.m. tip-off. I don't like day games. I don't know about you guys. If you guys are on the live feed, please drop in your comments. Let me know what you guys think. If you're in the area out on 700 East Layton in Plane View, if you want to stop by, you want to talk some Bucks, some Brewers, come sit down, come have a talk, and we'll discuss it out. Shout out to Tony. He's out on Twitter right now. You can follow the show on Twitter at Brew City Pod. He says no Harden and the Bucks aren't taking advantage of it. They need to play team ball and not iso ball. Agree. But before the James Harden, before they acquired James Harden, Tony, this team was still supposed to win the NBA Finals. You get a healthy Kevin Durant. You get a healthy Kyrie Irving. This team is still supposed to win the NBA Finals. They're still supposed to be there. I understand that there's no James Harden. It still doesn't matter. They're still a better team. They have a better squad. They have better scorers. Their role players know their role. They step up. Bruce Brown, Joe Harris. These are real. This is still like without James Harden. I agree, Tony, and thank you so much for hopping on. I still think that it's going to be tough without James Harden. I mean, you're talking about a guy who, fiddled his way out of Houston, however you want to say it, figured out his way out of Houston, came into Brooklyn, but the big 3 in Brooklyn, they only played 13 games together. So we haven't seen a whole lot of their big 3 together. Now, obviously, I still think, on paper, without James Harden, they're still better. Unfortunately, I think Kevin Durant's unguardable at times. Kyrie Irving is one of the best point guards in the NBA, no matter how crazy he is or supposedly is outside of the game of basketball. I still think he's a really good, and he's clutch. People forget about how clutch Kyrie Irving is. 2016, I believe it was, when the Cavs won the NBA Finals with LeBron James. Kyrie Irving hit that shot to win that game and then eventually win that series. So again, with or without James Harden, this is still a really good team. And this again, I just say it to reiterate it. Before they acquired James Harden, they were still the favorites to win the NBA Finals. That didn't change. Acquiring James Harden amplified those expectations. But this team was still supposed to be here and eventually win the NBA Finals. You still got two of the top 10 players in the NBA on your roster. Can you say, Tony, can you say the same thing about the Milwaukee Bucks? Do they have two top 10 NBA players on their roster? Yeah, they obviously have one. Obviously, nobody's going to argue that the two-time MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, is not a top 10 player. But who else? It's not. I love Chris Middleton. I love Drew Holiday. They're not top 10 players, unfortunately. So it's going to be, relying on role players. Bobby Portis, real quick, let me find my notes over here. Look, Bryn Forbes and Bobby Portis were a big reason that this Bucks team beat Miami. Obviously, Bryn Forbes shooting almost 50% from the three-point range obviously was a huge factor, coming off the bench, scoring 22 points in Game 3 in 20 minutes. Versus this series with Brooklyn, just versus Brooklyn, Bryn Forbes is averaging 5 points. 5. Bobby Portis is averaging 4. Those are your two best players coming off the bench, averaging a combined 9 points. That's not going to cut it. Bruce Brown is outscoring them. Mike James is outscoring them. Obviously, Joe Harris. So I understand that Milwaukee's quote-unquote not taking advantage of it. But again, the team isn't playing to their expectations. They're not playing to their capabilities. But again, give credit to Brooklyn. Give credit to Steve Nash, whatever coaching job you think he does or doesn't do. Give credit to that front office. They put together this team. Look, these pieces around Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving are very good. They fit them perfectly. Joe Harris fits them perfectly. So I think that, yes, the Bucks need to take advantage of not having James Harden in their lineup, but it's still a really good team. I don't think pulling James Harden out of that starting lineup makes the Bucks better. Is basically what I'm saying. So I don't think that going forward that they're going to need to play their best game. The Milwaukee Bucks, they have not played in any one of these 3 games. They have not played their best games. None of them. They've been terrible. Way under their points per game average. Way under. Listen, throughout this series with open looks, just open looks, the Bucks are 5 from 30. 5 for 30 on open look 3-pointers. Tony drops in another comment out here, and Tony, I appreciate you. You're my guy. I do appreciate your support. He says Bucks could have top 10 talent, but didn't pull a trigger on a CP3 trade when they had a chance. Everybody's on that CP3 trade, and I have a couple friends that are Milwaukee fans. They're kind of in the same boat, but I still like Drew Holiday better than Chris Paul. Now, is there anything wrong with Chris Paul? No. He's a great player, Hall of Fame player, maybe top 10 point guard of all time, maybe top 5, wherever you think you see Chris Paul. But do I think adding Chris Paul to this lineup changes anything right now? No, and I'll tell you why. Because of Coach Bud. And I'm not a guy that's calling out for his job. We're going to get into the theory of maybe this, if he doesn't win this series or at least puts up more of a fight, this could be the end of Coach Bud. But, and Tony drops in another comment, and this one drives me nuts. And I've been calling for this. Listen, I started this show back out in, was it beginning of April, mid-April, whenever it was. I said I don't want to see Giannis bringing up the ball up the court. Listen, my 5-year-old son, if I were to go down to the Pfizer and talk and show him a game and show him exactly what this team is, he knows what Giannis is going to do with the ball at the top of the court. Everybody in the freaking gym knows what Giannis is going to do with the ball at the top of the key. He's going to try to create either open looks. More importantly, he's going to try to score in the paint, or he's going to cause an offensive foul. And it's usually a mixture of those 3 throughout the game. So as Tony drops in here, he's out on Twitter. If you're out there on Twitter, follow the show on Twitter at Brew City Pod. You can follow me as well at Wisco_Brandon. Giannis playing the point guard, Giannis bringing the ball up the court. If it's not in transition, I don't want it. It drives me absolutely bonkers. The guy does not that he doesn't need to have the ball in his hands, but he does need to be worked in the paint a little bit more. Look, Brooklyn doesn't want to play defense. They were the 22nd rated defense, throughout the NBA in the course of the season for a reason. This team wants to outscore you. They want to outshoot you. They're going to do everything they can. And on most nights, they're probably going to be successful, at least at one of those, two of those things. So what do you do differently if you're the Milwaukee Bucks? Well, you look at a couple different things. You brought in Jrue Holiday. Not only did you bring in Jrue Holiday, you traded away your future for Jrue Holiday as far as 3 first-round draft picks. But more importantly, he's a true point guard. He's one of the only maybe there's 5 true point guards currently in the NBA right now. So you brought him in for a reason. Use him the right way. He needs to have the ball in his hands 99% of the time up the court. Again, if it's not in transition, that's one thing. But I would love to see Giannis worked in the paint more. I would love to see him become, in my opinion, and I know Shaq has said it, be a modern day Shaquille O'Neal. Nobody in the paint, nobody down on the block is going to be able to defend him, especially in a 7-game series consistently. You can look at the guys of maybe Rudy Gobert, maybe Bam Adebayo. Listen, Brooklyn has nobody on their team right now that wants to bang with Giannis down in the paint. Nobody is going to be able to sustain the energy, the drive, the fatigue. I mean, it's all going to come into play. And I think that using Giannis where he is needed, where he is more proficient, which is, in my opinion, down low, creating a pop-up shot that he started in Game 3, working around the block, working around the basket. What happens when Giannis catches that ball down low? Nobody's going to guard him. Nobody's going to stop him. So the way that Jrue Holiday is being utilized, it's not necessarily Jrue Holiday. Now, Jrue Holiday also hasn't played his best baseball. He hasn't been, basketball. He hasn't played his best basketball. He obviously hit a big game, a big shot to win and secure Game 3 with that timeout. And it was kind of funny because on the post-game show, I had a buddy come on, Trey Crosby. He came on and he said it looked like Jrue Holiday was actually trying to call a timeout, or it looked like possibly the Milwaukee Bucks were going to go ahead and call a timeout. And he was right. It did feel like that was going to happen. And Jrue Holiday said it after the game. He said, look, I saw Bruce Brown in front of me. I saw Joe Harris and drop coverage. I'm just going to go with it and see what happens and see. And obviously got the layup, and the Bucks go on to win Game 4, 86-83. But it's real simple. Jrue Holiday needs to play better. And I agree with, he's on Twitter at DMBOAK. Holiday is a super underrated point guard, and I completely agree. Like, he was buried in New Orleans. Nobody really cared basketball-wise what was going on because obviously Anthony Davis was working himself out of New Orleans to go to Los Angeles. Nobody really knew what Jrue Holiday was doing. Jrue Holiday is a great player. So far in the series, he's averaging 17.5 points, 4.5 rebounds, and 6.5 assists. I mean, that's exactly what you need out of your point guard. And you're looking at Jrue Holiday as probably being your number 3 scorer right now behind Chris Middleton and obviously Giannis. So, again, Jrue Holiday's doing everything that he's supposed to be doing, and he does a really good job at it. I mean, when he's on defensively and offensively, he's one of the more efficient players on the team. And you can make the argument, and I've said it before on the show, Jrue Holiday is probably the best two-way point guard. Now, Chris Paul is really good, so I guess you could argue Chris Paul, especially in these playoffs. Chris Paul has been phenomenal. But Jrue Holiday is, I think, either on par or right behind Chris Paul as far as two-way guard goes, offensively and defensively. So I think going forward, Jrue Holiday obviously needs to play better. And look, it's no secret. The bench has been non-existent. I mean, it's just been non-existent. There's nobody on this bench stepping up consistently. Bryn Forbes is throwing up Hail Marys, trying to secure anything that he possibly can, trying to find a rhythm, but it's just not working. And these guys, they need to have a role, especially in this series. I mean, you got Giannis, Jrue Holiday, and Chris Middleton all playing over 40 minutes in Game 3. It really looked like part of that Game 3 that the players were kind of running in mud because, Brooklyn was no better. Guys missing shots. Now, again, credit to P.J. Tucker. He's a dog. P.J. Tucker plays phenomenal defense. And after that game, I was curious to see exactly the stat sheet because I wanted to see. I'm a big guy with the plus or minus category, and I don't know if you guys are. To me, it kind of matters, I think. And it really showed P.J. Tucker, 0 points, 0 for 2, I believe it was, a couple of rebounds, but he had the highest plus or minus for the Milwaukee Bucks at plus 10. And that is because of the defense that he is playing on Kevin Durant. Now, he's not making anything easy. Again, Kevin Durant is going to get his points. He's going to get his buckets. You cannot guard 6'11", wingspan of 7'2", pulling up and shooting in the way he shoots. I don't think you can stop and completely shut out Kevin Durant. But what you can do is make it difficult on him, wear him down throughout the course of the series. And I think Giannis is doing that. PJ Tucker is doing that. And there's a little bit of a rotation between, at times Giannis and PJ Tucker, and you could even see Jrue Holiday on him. The only thing I don't want to see is drop coverage with Kevin Durant. You saw it in Game 3, and he missed a couple shots. But I don't want to see the coverage drop down and sag on a guy like Kevin Durant, because he's going to hit his shot no matter where he is on the court. So going forward, we'll look ahead at Game 4. That's kind of my thoughts on Game 3. It's real simple. Bench play better. Jrue Holiday play better. And that's pretty much it. I mean, you're pretty much – look, say what you want about Chris Middleton in Game 2, and whatever you want to say, you probably got a valid opinion and reason. Same thing with Giannis. They did not perform to their ability in Game 2. So I think going forward, if the bench shows up and you get 10, 12 points out of Bobby Portis, look, throughout the playoffs, Bobby Portis is averaging 11.5 points. To see him drop in this series to averaging only 4 shows you the difference that he can provide, especially off that bench. The toughness, the rebounding, the defense obviously always comes with Bobby Portis, and he's averaging over 7 rebounds. So Bobby Portis is a very important piece of this team. And the same thing with Bryn Forbes. Now, Bryn Forbes, when the Milwaukee Bucks went out and signed him, he wasn't a guy that was going to, break ESPN and break the internet for the Milwaukee Bucks acquiring him. But he was a guy that was going to come off the bench and provide consistent shooting. And we know the way that Giannis plays, the way that he is, the way that he controls a little bit of that offense and creates a lot of open looks. We saw it in 2020 in the bubble, unfortunately, where Kyle Korver couldn't hit a shot and Marvin Williams wasn't really good and Chris Middleton was struggling. You saw in that series against Miami, that's what Bryn Forbes was brought in here for. He was brought in here to get those open looks and obviously nail them. So you need Bryn Forbes and Bobby Portis to step up. I don't have a whole lot of complaints about Pat Connaughton. I know a lot of people do. I know it goes back to the free agent signing with Pat Connaughton. They didn't like the deal. I believe it was 3 years, $21 million, if I'm not mistaken. But there wasn't a whole lot of fans, begging for that Pat Connaughton to be re-signed. And when he did, it was kind of whatever. I'm okay with Pat Connaughton. Look, you know what you're going to get. And in the regular season, he shot over 40% from three-point range. He's going to grab rebounds. He's going to kind of be your hustle guy. He's going to do his best effort, whether you guys care about that or not, but it's what he's going to get. So I think going forward, as long as you get kind of what you're getting with Pat Connaughton, maybe he hits a shot here or there, you'll have a little bit more of a better feeling with Pat Connaughton. And look, it's Bobby Portis and Bryn Forbes. Those are your first 2 guys off the bench. Those are the 2 guys that you need to step up. So going forward, we'll leave Game 3 in the rearview mirror. Looking ahead to Game 4 here in a little bit. I just want to get an update on this Brewer game. 7-4 still. It looks like the bottom of the 8th. Look, if you guys are in Milwaukee, if you're in the area, I'm telling you right now, come on over to In Plane View. That's where I'm at right now. Phenomenal service out here. Phenomenal location right across the street from the literally right across the street from the airport. It's such a fun place. The food is so good too. Best fish fry, in my opinion, in Milwaukee. It's phenomenal. Really good stuff. The service here is top notch. They got the dartboards. They got the pool table. They got the slot machines. It's a real cool place. So if you are in the area, hey, look, I'm going to be out here for like another 2-3 hours. So come on out. If you want to talk some Bucks and Brewers, you can have a seat right next to me. We'll talk about it. We'll get your opinion on it and just see what it's like to just jump on a podcast and go for it. So again, Bucks win Game 3, 86-83. Game 4 Sunday at 2 p.m. We'll talk about looking ahead to Game 4, what it means if they win, what it means if they lose, what it means for Coach Bud. What are your guys' opinions? If you're out on the live feed, if you're on Twitter, on Facebook, at Brew City Pod, if you're out on the YouTube channel, at Brew City Lounge, drop a comment. Let me know what you guys think is going to happen if Coach Bud does not win this series or even puts up a fight. So while this Brewer game is still kind of going on right now, it looks like they are going into the 9th inning right now. Sorry, looking up like that because the TV is literally right above me. We're going to talk a little bit about this Milwaukee Brewers team. And kind of under the radar with this Milwaukee Brewers team has turned into, guys, it's not like real big secret. I know that, Tampa Bay got a lot of publicity with their winning streak, and the Chicago White Sox are doing really good. The Cubs are still winning. The Milwaukee Brewers have quietly become the hottest team in the Major League Baseball since the Willy Adames trade. Now, if the score holds up tonight, and I think it will, going into the 9th inning, the Brewers are up, I believe it's 7-4. 16-4 since that Willy Adames trade. Now, I was not a big fan of the Willy Adames trade, and it wasn't because of Willy Adames. I love the player. I think he's perfect for this team. He kind of takes a little bit of that Arcia energy vibe that he has in the clubhouse, and obviously his defense is phenomenal, and his bat has turned out to be really good. I mean, the guy's hitting almost 300 since he's gotten to Milwaukee, almost 400 on-base percentage, and looking at almost 500 slugging percentage. So offensively, he's been better than I think we thought he was going to be. But I wasn't a huge fan of it because of the fact that you traded Arcia 3 weeks prior to that, and then you dipped into your bullpen a little bit. Right now, your bullpen is struggling. Yardley, Suter's probably your, I guess, outside of Devin Williams and Josh Hader, is probably your number one guy coming out of the bullpen. I don't know how you guys feel about Brent Suter. I like the person. I liked him last year. This year, he's kind of been up and down, having a little bit of a roller coaster season as he tries to figure out some stuff. But looking ahead, last 10 games, the Brewers are 8-2. Again, if they win tonight and the score does stay true, and I think it probably will. 16-4 since that Willy Adames trade. They're 7-2, could be 8-2 in the month of June. And look, if you peek ahead a little bit to this June schedule, not until the end of June do they play the Cubs, and really probably the only team that really kind of strikes you as a competitive team. I mean, you got Colorado again, you got Arizona, you got Pittsburgh. There's probably another team that I'm forgetting, but I think the schedule is favorable. Right now, the Brewers do share the lead with the Cubs in the NL Central. Again, last 10 games, 8-2. They're that's the best in baseball over that stretch of time since that Willy Adames trade, 16-4, if the score stays true. I mean, how good can this team be, in your guys' opinion? And if you're on Twitter, you're on Facebook, on YouTube, drop a comment. I'll get your comment. I'll read it online. I want to know what your guys' thoughts. How good is it? How good can this team be? Because keep in mind, Brewers fans and baseball fans, NL Central fans, the Brewers have had one game where this offense was at 100%. And that was opening day, opening week of baseball. That was the only stretch of baseball, and it wasn't very long when you lost Yelich and Kane, and obviously here it hasn't performed, that you had a whole lineup. I'm talking about in a combination, Yelich, Kane, Hira, and Colton Wong have all missed considerable time. Colton Wong's on his second stint on the IL, and Lorenzo Cain's on his third. And if you guys heard my show a couple weeks ago with Kevin Holden of CBS 58 out of Milwaukee, I think we're kind of seeing the beginning of the end for Lorenzo Cain. You saw early in February, I believe it was February, when the Jackie Bradley Jr. deal was announced, and you kind of had a feeling early that was probably going to be indicative on where Lorenzo Cain was health-wise. Now, keep in mind, to his defense, he did miss last year's 60-game season. Obviously, it would have been a whole season, without COVID, but he did not play a whole year of baseball. And then going into spring training, obviously his legs were not where they needed to be. He missed some time with the quad and calf injury, and that's kind of what's kept him on the IL this season. And obviously losing Travis Shaw, as we saw a couple games ago, and thoughts and prayers up for Travis Shaw. He's going to be okay. Obviously dislocated his shoulder. He's going to be out until they put him on the 60-day IL, which would bring him back into August. So do the Brewers go out and make a move? Do they call up a guy like Zach Green? Or are they going out and maybe getting somebody from one of these teams that are underperforming? Does Bryce Terrain get floated around? Ethan Small get floated around in trade? If you guys have trade scenarios, if you got guys you're looking at, drop a comment on the YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter. I will read them. I want to know your guys' opinion, because I think where they're at right now, I think Willy Adames is probably where they're going to hold par. Now, you could make the argument that they need more bullpen, and that's where I would lean before I would go offense, because I think offense is kind of slowly turning the corner. So far in the last month of June, the last stretch of 10 games, they're averaging almost 6 runs a game. So I think we're seeing a little bit of a dip, a little bit of a trend into the right direction with the offensive stats. Now, is there a correlation with the Rob Manfred and the substance, with the pitchers? Obviously, spin rates are down. Strikeout percentages are down. Offensive numbers are back up. So is that something to do with that? Is that the reason we're seeing these offensive numbers kind of peak up more so than we have in the last, 2 months of baseball or so? And the Brewers right now at 7 runs tonight. So they're starting to turn the corner offensively. And you look at a guy who I was hard on at the beginning of the year, and if I'm wrong, I'll be wrong. I was a little irritated, a little annoyed, whatever you want to call it, with Avisail Garcia. Now, when he signed him, it was obviously prior to the COVID year, so you didn't know COVID was going to come around. And getting a guy like Avi Garcia provides a little bit of pop offensively. At least you thought in the season, in the series, or in the 60-game season, we didn't really see it a whole lot. But really, we didn't see a whole lot of anything or anybody in that 60-game shortened season due to COVID. So this year, looking at Avi Garcia, he's a team leader in pretty much every major category for this team: average, home runs, RBI, slugging percentage, OPS. I mean, the guy outside of maybe Omar Narvaez, who is also having a really good year, and I think deserves a lot of credit, because a lot of people were hard on Omar last year, and a lot of people were hard on Avisail Garcia last year, myself included, guys. I was also hard on him, and I do apologize to Avi. I know he listens to the show, so I just wanted to make sure he's aware that I apologize for that. So I think getting Yelich back healthy and consistently playing. Now, his slash line's going up. It's trending in the right direction. Huge. If you missed the game today, if you're maybe watching the game right now, a huge bases loaded 3-run double. I believe it was in the 4th inning or the 5th inning of tonight's game. I was been setting up the show, so I'm kind of scatterbrained all over right now. But excuse me if I don't know exactly what inning it was, but he had a big hit that kind of broke the game and got the Brewers in the lead. So you're going to see Yelich's numbers go up. I told you guys about Willy Adames. His slash line is improving. Omar Narvaez has been arguably your most consistent hitter throughout the first 3 months of the season. Obviously, got Avi Garcia is going up, and you're going to see guys like Colton Wong come back a little bit healthier, hopefully more consistent. You're going to see guys like Christian Yelich. Hopefully you get Keston Hiura back in the flow. Hopefully you get Lorenzo Cain back in the flow, and you're going to see these numbers kind of be a little bit more consistent. You're not going to see spurts of games of 7 runs and then 2 runs, or maybe 8 runs and 1 run, or a couple games ago, against Cincinnati, where they struggled mightily. So you're going to see, I think you're going to see the offense kind of trend in the right direction going forward. It looks like the Milwaukee Brewers did in fact win. The Milwaukee Brewers did win. Final score of 7-4. That secures another series victory for the Milwaukee Brewers. Josh Hader did get the save. So again, now you're looking at 16-4 since that Willy Adames trade. Pressure's back on the Chicago Cubs. They need to win tonight to remain tied for the Milwaukee Brewers in the lead of the NL Central. But again, it's a little early to look at standings, but it doesn't hurt, in my opinion, to kind of see where you stand throughout the NL Central. Big part of this team, though, guys, has been pitching. Obviously, we know that. We know guys like Corbin Burns, Brandon Woodruff, and Freddie Peralta have really been the anchors of this team. They have been the guys that have carried this team, especially in April and May, when offensively you did not have the offensive numbers that were needed to get you over the hump in a lot of these games. And these guys have kept the Milwaukee Brewers in it. They have kept them afloat. They have carried them. There's times early in the season they only needed to score 2 runs or 3 runs, a couple 1-0 victories early in April where the weather's a little bit colder. So, again, if you get this pitching, and I said it multiple times and I'll say it again, if this offense ever catches up with this pitching, and look, guys, let's not be foolish. Like, pitching's going to probably drop down a little bit. Hitters are going to get better as the summer goes on. It's a long season. You're probably going to see Corbin Burns, Brandon Woodruff. Their innings are going to go down because, look, they did not play a full season last year You're not going to throw a guy out there who only pitched in 20 games, maybe 15 games the year prior, go, for say, 30 games in this season and pitch 200, 300 plus innings. So I think if the offense does catch up with the defense, if the offense catches up with the pitching, you're going to see this team kind of separate itself in the NL Central, in the National League. And look, maybe the Major League Baseball, right now they're 10 games over 500. 10 games over 500, and their offense has been in the third tier from an offensive standpoint at the bottom part of the MLB throughout the Major League. So their offense hasn't really been really good at all until as of late in the month of April. So getting guys like Keston Hiura back, getting guys like get Lorenzo Cain, and you get this group playing together. You get them playing together consistently. You're just getting Christian Yelich back. And again, Christian Yelich with a big hit last night, a big hit today, clearing double, bases clearing double last night and today. Look, you're going to create a really good team and probably the most dangerous team, in my opinion, not only in the National League Central, but I do think in Major League Baseball, outside of maybe Chicago White Sox, maybe Tampa Bay, but especially in the National League. Look, the Dodgers haven't played really good baseball much at all. I think I'm pulling up the MLB standings right now, and look, and it's really easy because the Milwaukee Brewers are going to have their best three pitchers. If you get to if you get to September, October, nobody's going to want to play the Milwaukee Brewers in a 5-game series when your first three pitchers are presumably maybe Cy Young candidates. So, again, I think, if this offense does catch up, and I'm just pulling up the MLB standings on here now, I just kind of want to get a little peek ahead to see what we're looking at. We do got a comment on the live feed. Noah, live shows out in public is so smart. Keep kicking ass, man. I appreciate you, Noah. If anybody knows my interaction with Noah, he knows that we go back and forth, and we banter back and forth, and I love him like a brother, and I appreciate his support. He's the best person I know outside my family, but he is my family, so I do appreciate him. Thank you so much for tuning in. And he's right, guys. We are live on location, 700 East Layton out here in Milwaukee, right across the street from the airport. We're talking Bucks. We're talking Brewers. Bucks with a big game for tomorrow. Let's talk about that. I want to get your guys' thoughts on it. Brewers just won another game, just won another series, improved to the best team in the National League Central. Cubs are playing tonight right now, actually, against the St. Louis Cardinals. So we'll see what happens down in Wrigleyville to see what happens with the NL Central tomorrow. But it's still a little bit early. But, yes, we are out here, guys. I am out here in the city. Look, there's not many podcasts out there. There's not many shows out there where you do a show about a team and they're in that same city. This is my city. I was born here. I was raised here. I'm a local guy. If you got a bar you want me to do a live show at, I do post-game shows for the Milwaukee Bucks. We were out at American Family Field just a couple weeks ago doing a pregame show in the parking lot from American Family Field. You guys let me know. You want to come down here and just chit-chat for an hour. I had a couple of guys already come up and talk about what their thoughts were about Game 4 with the Bucks, and we'll talk about Kevin Durant's bodyguard here in a little bit when we go back to the Milwaukee Bucks and look ahead to Game 4. I'm going to bring in a couple guests that have been asking to come on. So, again, if you guys are ever in the area, if you ever have a bar, I do the Brew City Bar Review, which is once every month. So I'll be due for a review at the third week of June. So about a week from now. Yeah, about a week from now. So if there's a bar that you guys want me to review, maybe you know somebody out there, shoot me a message. You can follow me on Twitter at Wisco_Brandon. You can follow me on Facebook. You can follow the show on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube at Brew City Pod, at Brew City Lounge. I will answer any questions. I will, whatever requests you guys have, if you want to talk offline. I've had a couple guys come up to me and they just message me on the side, after the show, and they want me to hear their thoughts. Hey, that's cool too. That's what we do. This is our team, our city. We always want them to do great. We're going to see what happens with the Milwaukee Bucks going forward. But again, back real quick, we're just going to touch a little bit more about this Milwaukee Brewers team. They do win tonight, a big, big win in my opinion. Now it's Pittsburgh, so it is what it is. Pittsburgh's the bottom portion of the NL Central and the Major League Baseball, but it's a game where you have to win. It's a game because you should win. You don't want to mess around in the month of June. I said it a couple weeks on my show with Kevin Holden. I think if this team makes a deep run in September into October, we're going to look at the month of June as being the reason why. Why were the Milwaukee Brewers put in a position to be successful? Because their favorable schedule, in my opinion, in June. And look, you're still trying to get your team healthy. You do not have maybe your second best hitter as of the last few years in Keston Hiura, who is back in AAA Nashville. So you're missing a leader in the clubhouse and a Gold Glove center fielder in Lorenzo King. Travis Shaw is now out until August. Your Gold Glove second baseman, who you signed in the offseason, is still on the IL. I think they said he's leaning towards coming back this upcoming week. So we'll see about Colton Wong. But you have not played a stretch of baseball with your whole team. You have not had a consistent, healthy major league team since you kicked off the 2021 season. So going forward, you get these guys back healthy. You get Yelich swinging the bat the way he's been swinging it. And we're going to bring in a guest here. I'm sorry, but we're just touching base on the Milwaukee Brewers. I think, guys, if they remain healthy and they get healthy, and guys like Christian Yelich start swinging the bat, Lorenzo Cain, Colton Wong, Keston Hiura come back, I think you're going to see a team kind of take off in the NL Central, and you're going to be competing with the Chicago Cubs. Now, I said it. We got my dad yelling at us, but I said at the beginning of the season, we previewed the season, the Chicago Cubs were going to be there at the end of the season. Look, they are extremely talented, and I do want to talk a little bit about the NL Central, and what better guest to bring on than my partner in crime from the Titletown Lounge. We're going to rework the mic here. My partner from Titletown Lounge.
I just want to get this on
we
camera.
Got pictures coming in.
I just want to get this on camera as he's sitting here talking about how the Brewers could potentially get hot down the stretch. We're also talking about a Cubs team that is hot, just like the Brewers are right now. But the Cubs are playing phenomenal baseball as well, so it's going to be a very interesting division. I think this is one of the better divisions in baseball right now. You've got the Cardinals, you've got the Cubs, and you have the Brewers. It's going to be a three-way race all the way down until the last day in September, game 162. So I don't think this division is going to be decided until the very last day.
Yeah, and I said it going back to the beginning of the year that as talented as the Milwaukee Brewers were, and they were, on paper, we didn't know what the pitching was going to be, though. We didn't know Freddie Peralta was going to turn into a potential Cy Young candidate. We didn't know that, and Noah, there you go, Noah, with your comment. Rhino shows up, there goes the neighborhood. So we didn't know, the question mark with the Milwaukee Brewers was pitching. How good was it going to be? We knew the back end of the bullpen was going to be really good. Obviously, Rookie of the Year, Devin Williams and Josh Hader as the anchors. We were a little bit concerned with the middle part of the bullpen. That has proven to be accurate. They're struggling right now. We figured offensively this Milwaukee Brewers team was going to be really good. They've obviously struggled pretty mightily as the first two, looking at maybe almost 3 months. They just got good at the end of May, offensively speaking.
That's the paradox with this team, though, is going into the 2021 season, everyone thought that Milwaukee would be an offensive powerhouse and that the pitching was the biggest question mark. They've had one of the best rotations in baseball. The hitting has been the biggest issue with the Brewers so far. So
they've had, historically speaking, Milwaukee Brewers have had, in Brewers history, the best starting rotation in the history of the organization. It's been lights out. And look, I dislike the Chicago Cubs, but when you talk about Javi Baez, Chris Bryant, MVP Chris Bryant right now, and this isn't, look, I'm not praising the Cubs. I'm a realist. You guys are going to get 100% of the truth anytime that I talk. The Cubs are going to be good. They're run by a player manager who played with them, just won a World Series with them not too long ago. Look, they're going to be good. The talent on that team is way too good to not be there at the end of the year. I think you're going to see, and you're starting to see it now. We don't know what's going to happen tonight. You're starting to see the Brewers and the Cubs kind of separate themselves from the rest of the NL Central. And that doesn't mean that the St. Louis Cardinals won't be there. Obviously, that's a stingy ball club. They always have been. They always will be. But the talent difference between the Cubs and Brewers versus the Cardinals and everybody else, I'm not going to bring up Cincinnati or Pittsburgh. Maybe Cincinnati squeezes in there at the end. They're right above 500, right under 500 right now. But you're starting to see the Milwaukee Brewers and the Chicago Cubs separate, and they'll face each other again at the end of June. And they played a bunch of times in April, which was weird to start the season.
It is weird, yeah.
But in my opinion, you're going to start seeing the Cubs and the Brewers separate themselves.
I think they're going to make a lot of distance between themselves and actually the rest of the National League. I don't think the NL West is as strong as they're indicating right now. One, maybe even two of those teams are going to fall off come August or September. I don't think the Giants are as good as their record indicates. The Giants really remind me a lot of the Tampa Bay Rays. You know, somehow the Rays are always there. Somehow the Rays always have a decent record, but their team is just not good enough to make it down the stretch. That's the Giants to me. The Padres have a pretty good squad, and obviously we know what the Dodgers are capable of. They're World Series champs. So I think come mid-August, you're going to see the Cubs and the Brewers right there with the Dodgers and the Padres in terms of the best record in the National League.
I actually just said that too, because I said if you look at the Major League Baseball as a whole, when you in the offseason, obviously acquiring Trevor Bauer, getting Mookie Betts signed to a long-term extension, you know, obviously Cody Bellinger's down there. You got a really good team, obviously Clayton Kershaw. I said, looking at it right now, with this Brewers starting rotation, if the offense catches up with the pitching, you're looking at arguably the best team in the National League. Now, obviously, look around the Major League Baseball. White Sox are doing really good. Tampa Bay's doing really good.
The Red Sox
are doing a lot better than everybody thought they were going to be doing.
Yep.
San Diego, I still think, is going to be there come August, September, going into October. And again, you know, yes, my dad drops in a comment, Chicago sucks. We agree, but the Cubs are really good, and it's going to come down, in my opinion, for the NL Central, the Cubs and Brewers. And what better way, guys? 94 is literally right over there. Like this is what we wanted. We respect that rivalry. Obviously, things got heated in April with Willie Contreras and Milwaukee Brewers pitching staff.
But honestly, the fact that both of these teams are competitive and are going to compete for October has really heated this rivalry up. I mean, we know for the longest time it was Cubs-Cardinals. Up until about 2017-18, for the longest time it was Cubs-Cardinals in this division. It's no longer Cubs-Cardinals. The best rivalry in this division is Brewers-Cubs. And the fact that both of these teams are going to be competing for the division this year down the stretch, that's really what drives this rivalry up through the roof. And I genuinely enjoy that.
So before I let you go and switch you out, I do want to get your opinion on Game 3 for the Milwaukee Brewers. Now, if you guys don't know, this is my man. This is my guy, Rhino. You can follow him on Twitter at Sports Talk Rhino over there on Twitter. If you guys are into the Packers talk, and I hope if you're Bucks and Brewers fans, you're also Packer fans, you can follow us. Every Sunday we do a live show, Titletown Lounge. You can follow it on Twitter at Titletown Lounge. Rhino, although he's a Cubs fan, and we'll forgive him for this time, he's also a Milwaukee Bucks fan, and I want to get your thoughts. Game 3, what did you think about the victory? Number 1. Number 2, what do you think it means going forward?
So my thoughts on the Game 3, where it was more of a Nets loss than it was a Bucks victory. And I don't want to speak poorly about the Bucks. You know, obviously I'm a huge Bucks fan. I love the Bucks, but you're up 30-11 in the first quarter. And then you get outscored by almost 20 points in the second quarter, and it's right back to a game at half.
Really, it was really a game in that second quarter.
It really was. Giannis has to absolutely stop shooting so many three-pointers. He needs to take shots within 16 feet of the basket every single time that ball goes up. It has to be within 16 feet. First 2 games, he was shooting over 60%. The rest of the team was shooting less than 39%. Take those high percentage shots, take less risks, and put the points on the board. Giannis is one of the most physically gifted players in the league right now. The fact that he's playing a perimeter game right now is atrocious. Get him inside, let him drive the ball, let him get into the paint. If he doesn't score, he's going to draw a foul. Now, I know that the officiating has been questionable at best over the first 3 games, but let the man play in the paint. Let the man do what he does best, and that's overpowering anybody who's on him defensively. I think Game 4, their best bet is to get the ball inside, get Brook going inside, get Giannis going inside, put up those high percentage shots, and I think you see a lot better of an offense out of them.
And Skip Bayless of YouTube drops in a comment. Of course, I'm talking about our buddy, my brother Noah, who says, that was a Nets loss. Bucks win only means it'll be Nets in 6 like he said, no, Milwaukee Bucks are going to win that series. That's okay, Noah. I will take a win no matter how I can get it.
A win is a win. I don't care. A win is a win.
And if you've been a Milwaukee Bucks fan like I have for my entire life, and I know Rhino has as well, we don't win a whole lot in the playoffs before Giannis. It's been a couple of times, 2001. Yeah, I mean,
Ray Allen's the last time we saw an Eastern
really hasn't been
outside of Giannis.
Exactly, hasn't been very prevalent in the city of Milwaukee. So look, if you got to muck it up and win by 3 and win ugly, we're going to win ugly. Now, real quick, and then I'm going to bring in the president of the network. And this is also, I forgot to mention it, introducing him. He's also the vice president of the Lounge Room Network. You can follow the network. It's a fairly new network, and we're kind of putting it all together, and we're having a whole lot of fun doing it. You can follow the network on Twitter at Lounge Room Net. Rhino here is the vice president of that network. Again, follow him on Twitter at Sports Talk Rhino. Looking ahead to Game 4. Now, I said it on this show, and I said it on the post-game show. I said if the Bucks win Game 4,
it's a whole new series,
and it's a big if. If they win Game 4, the Milwaukee Bucks will indeed win the series. Now, whether it goes 6 or 7, I don't know, but all the pressure goes back to Brooklyn. So, looking at Game 4, what are your thoughts?
They have to get out to a hot start, and they absolutely have to slow down on all of the three-point shooting. The adjustments by Bud have to be there no later than halftime if they're behind. Bud has not really made the adjustments necessary to compete with Brooklyn so far in the series. But I think that if the Bucks come out shooting hot and they keep the foot on the gas and they win Game 4, it's a best-of-3 series at that point. If they win Game 4, the next game is, I believe, in Game 5 is in Brooklyn.
Game 6 is in Milwaukee. Then.
It's a winnable game. Game 5 is a winnable game for the Bucks if they win Game 4. But they have to switch it up. They absolutely have to switch it up. You can't keep shooting all these threes. We saw it in Game 1. The 3 was cold. And we saw it in Game 3. The 3 was cold. Get the ball in the paint. Take those high percentage shots. And I think if you get off to a hot start, they win Game 4. And I think they win Game 4 decisively.
Yeah, and I said it too on the show. Now you kept Kevin Durant shooting from under 40% in Game 3. I think the longer the series goes, the more. And look, Kevin Durant's going to get his shots, but the longer the series goes, the more PJ Tucker is going to wear mentally and physically on a guy like Kevin Durant.
And if I may, I apologize. If I may, everyone criticizes Bud about game management, time management, low minutes for the starters. One thing to keep in mind is guys like Durant, Kyrie have played quite a bit of minutes so far in the series. I mean, you're talking about 48 minutes in
45.
Game 3, 45 minutes in Game 3, and I believe it was 40 or 41 minutes in Game 2.
Kevin Durant was at 40.
When you have a guy like PJ Tucker on your body the whole game, you're going to wear down, and you're going to get tired. In a 5, 6, 7 game series, you're going to get tired. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's LeBron James, Michael Jordan, it doesn't matter. When you have a guy like PJ Tucker on you always, like a cheap suit, you're going to wear down. So I think you're going to see that adverse effect on Kevin Durant, Kyrie come Game 5, come Game 6. They're playing a lot of minutes. Everyone talks shit about Bud, but he may be onto something. So,
and he said it too. Like, look, if you're a competitor, period, especially guys like the Milwaukee's big 3, Giannis, Chris, and Drew, they want to play 48 minutes.
Yes.
That's not a secret.
Yes.
But he also knows, and Coach Bud also knows, that it's a series, and it's going to eventually possibly get to Game 6 and maybe Game 7. And you want as fresh as you can be and be able to win. You don't want to win Game 3 by playing 48 minutes. Now, you want to win Game 3, but at what cost? You eventually got to understand that these guys are human beings. They're not robots. They're not machines. It's going to take an effect on them. And that's why I said PJ Tucker was so important. Because, look, Kevin Durant's going to get his shot. He shot almost 70% from the three. He shot 66.7 from the three-point range and the two-point field goals in Game 2. It's almost 70%. Game 3, that dropped all the way under 40. Now, is that a combination of PJ Tucker? Absolutely. That also means playing 45 minutes is taking a toll on a guy that is coming off a torn Achilles who's over the age of 32. So it also plays into that as well. I do think that the Bucks win tomorrow. I think it's going to be another game like we saw on Thursday. Milwaukee always seems to struggle during day games. I'm getting peer pressure to come to the Deer District tomorrow.
He's going.
I know he's going. I know
He's going.
Juan's possibly going. We're going to get Juan on here in a second. But again, follow him on Twitter, guys, at Sports Talk Rhino. He is a Cubs fan, so take it easy on him. But he's also
a Packers fan, though.
He's a diehard Packers fan and diehard Milwaukee Bucks fan. So
before I sign off, 103.98 tomorrow, Bucks.
103.98 Rhino with the prediction. That's a bold prediction. That's
103.98.
Holding Brooklyn again to under. Look, if you hold Brooklyn under 100 points, your chances of winning go up dramatically.
I think the Bucks draw back on the 3 attempts, but I do think the percentage is there. So I think the Bucks will be over 100, but I think the defense will prevail. You have Kevin Durant playing a lot of minutes. You have Kyrie Irving playing a lot of minutes. And outside of that, they really do not have a lot of sharp shooting offensive players outside of those two. I mean, guys that could put up, 25, 38 in one night, but not guys that can put up 25, 30 every night. So if Kyrie and Durant get tired, you don't have that go-to guy that can put up the points. That's why Harden being gone is detrimental to the net. So 103.98. Thank you so much, guys.
Follow him on Twitter at Sports Talk Rhino.
I'm gonna go get the press.
Follow him on Twitter at Sports Talk Rhino. He's when it comes to the Packers, me and Rhino, if you guys follow the Packers, we do a show every Sunday. We get into it. I love the guy. He is a Cubs fan, so take it easy on him a little bit. But bringing in you a special guest right now, a guy that has taken a network of guys, a group of guys, and has really turned us into a family. Look, I just started podcasting. It was about 2-3 months ago, and I didn't have any experience. I had no idea really what I was doing. They were talking me through on how to record, how to save my work, how to transfer my work over to upload it to all the platforms. So I had no idea how to really do anything. And when Juan started this network, I approached him and I said I wanted to do. There he is. I wanted to do a Milwaukee podcast based on Bucks and Brewers. There's not a whole lot of Bucks and Brewers shows out there, especially podcasts. So I wanted to do it. And some of the guys were coming back to me, that had been podcasting, and they said, look, it's probably not your best idea to go on a solo show. It's really hard. There's a lot of conversation. You got to keep up with yourself. There's a lot of stuff that goes into it. You got to understand that it's not as easy as it looks. So Juan took me to the side. He texted me to the side, and I said, I'm not 100% sure about this. And he said, look, I think you'd be great to do it. I think it's something that you're born to do. You gave me a lot of encouragement. You gave me a lot of really, help me make a decision of starting the show. And here we are, the number one show in the network, Brew City Lounge, having a whole ton of fun doing it. And this guy right here started the network, the president of the network, the Lounge Room Net. Follow them on Twitter at Lounge Room Net. You can follow him on Twitter at BearsFanatico94. He is Juan. Your first time on Brew City Lounge. How's it going?
It is. And ultimately, I'm a Bears fan. For those who, obviously, all of you know, this may or may not be the first and last time you probably have a Bears fan on your show. But no,
not this one.
Not this one. Look, guys, I don't want to take too much of Brandon's time here, but I just want to say this. Brandon is a very accomplished individual, and the amount of work that he has put into not only this network but into this show, I mean, we can't say enough about it. I mean, this guy right here, he's a very talented guy. I have so much respect for Brandon. Everything that he's been able to do with getting this network, with helping boost this network and whatnot, and providing this quality Milwaukee sports content for all of you. I basically dubbed him today, he's Mr. Brew City now.
I saw that.
Yeah,
Mr.
Brew City is what we're going to call him around here on the Lounge Room Network. And as the president and co-founder of this network, I can't tell you enough how much of an awesome job you do, what you've been able to accomplish in the past 2.5 months. doing live shows at various sports bars here across the Milwaukee area. I know you're going to be starting bar reviews here next week, if I'm not mistaken.
Next week,
getting a show going over at Miller Park, not AmFam, Miller. It's the one and only Loaded Crew.
That's
today.
a good one.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
I am wearing the Milwaukee Brewers hat. I know they won today, 7 to 4. Yeah.
And I do want to get your thoughts now, guys. Juan is not like Rhino. Okay, Juan is a ally to the Milwaukee Brewers. Now, Milwaukee is his second. Milwaukee is number one. This is where Juan lives. This is where he spends all his time, and he loves the city of Milwaukee. He's a Chicago White Sox fan. Now, we like the Chicago White Sox. We don't like the Northsiders up there in Wrigleyville. But Juan, you're looking at, he's a Chicago White Sox fan. They're in first place. They're playing probably the best baseball in all of Major League. Outside, Milwaukee Brewers, record-wise, are the hottest team in Major League. They are 16-4 in their last 20 games. But looking at this Milwaukee Brewers team, you're a Chicago White Sox fan. What are your thoughts on this Brewers team? How good? Juan, we got to keep in mind they don't have 4 starters. They're missing Colton Wong, Lorenzo King, Travis Shaw is now out. Keston Hiura just can't hit the ball, unfortunately, right now. When you're looking at this team, number 1 team in the NL Central, what are your thoughts? 10 games over 500. How good can this team be?
I'm going to be very honest with you guys. Aggressiveness. The amount of aggressiveness that the Milwaukee Brew Crew, what they can put up, if they can continue to be aggressive, continue to hit the ball, they can continue to prosper. I mean, you guys are up in first place right now, and that's the same case with my Chicago White Sox. So shout out to them tonight. We're putting up touchdowns
against
over
Detroit, right?
The Tigers, ladies and gentlemen. They won 15-2 today. They are now up. I think they're at 40 games that they just.
I got to pull them right here.
Yeah, the American League up
40-24.
40-24, ladies and gentlemen. I know this is a Milwaukee pod, but guys, I got to give
them a little bit of a shout out.
Got to give a shout out to the South Side, because the South Side they're hot right now. They're up 40-24 in the AL Central standings, first place. But yes, the Brewers are up. They're 37-27. The emerging Cubs are also right behind the Brewers, 36-27. And they're doing very well too. So,
well, what's cool about both of these teams really is they're also not healthy, guys. Chicago has lost. I don't know. You can speak on it a little bit more than I can.
Jimenez, we got Luis Robert out. We just put Nick Madrigal out with a hamstring injury. We got our pitcher Michael Kopech is out too. So the Chicago White Sox have not gotten a break. We are plagued with injuries. Our starters are plagued with injuries. It's not looking good. However, the Chicago White Sox continue to be able to face the adversity of having all of these injuries, and we're still pulling massive W's. I mean, 15 runs today, guys. I mean, that's incredible with all of our star players out. I mean,
and that's the correlation between the two teams, because obviously I just said it. Milwaukee has also faced all season. They have not had their whole lineup put together. Christian Yelich missed over 30 days of baseball because of the back injury. Obviously, Lorenzo King, third time he's been on the IL. Second time Colton Wong has been on the IL. Now, obviously, the starting pitching for Milwaukee is a little bit better, than maybe other teams. I think, historically speaking, it's the best starting rotation for the Milwaukee Brewers as a franchise. So it's going to be a fun summer. I'm actually going to be going to the American Family Field with Juan and a whole bunch of other White Sox fans. We're going to the game July 25th, I believe.
Yes, July 25th.
July 25th, we're going to be at American Family Field. So look forward to a little bit of a pregame show with everybody. We're going to have a whole bunch of people there. I do want to get your thoughts, though, just down the street, down 94, the Milwaukee Bucks. Winning Game 3, it was an absolute must-win. Now, in a must-win game, you got a guy like Giannis, who gets a lot of criticism. A guy like Chris Middleton gets a lot of criticism. What were your thoughts about Game 3? Now, obviously, it was ugly. We know that. Winning 86-83. It shot horribly. Both teams shot horribly. You're watching that game. What were your thoughts about that game?
So, right away off the bat, the initial, I'll even go ahead and say the entire first quarter, Milwaukee came out swinging. They learned from their mistakes over in Brooklyn. They came out, they shot the ball well. I mean, at one point they were up what? I'm trying to remember the score, but they had a significant lead.
30-11 at the end of the first quarter.
How long did it take Brooklyn to score a bucket? I mean, it took them forever to score. I mean, they were out there shooting their shot. Chris Middleton shooting those threes. Beautiful. Giannis shooting threes, guys. I mean, I know I like to crap on Giannis for some of his shooting and obviously his free throws, and we can talk about that later, or I'm sure Brandon will bring it up if he hasn't already. But the key, there is no reason why this Milwaukee team should have gotten slapped at all. They are more than capable of winning, and they're more than capable of continuing to bring that aggression, because that's what they need to win against the Brooklyn Nets. They need to make sure that they keep their fire offense moving along. They cannot let Brooklyn get hot, because if they do, that's where they're going to start to fail.
And, I said it at the introduction to the show, and the first topic was obviously about the Milwaukee the Milwaukee Bucks. Look, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving are going to get their buckets. They're certified bucket getters. Kevin Durant is arguably the best scorer the NBA has ever seen. So you got to understand it. You're going up against really elite talent. This isn't just a regular good team. Like, this is historically great. Now, before they got James Harden, Brooklyn was still the betting favorite to win the NBA Finals. Getting James Harden only amplified those expectations. So again, if you lose against Brooklyn, is that the end of Coach Bud? Everybody thinks it is. The Real GM and The Athletic have already put out articles that if Coach Bud and the Milwaukee Brewers have a quote-unquote thud exit from the NBA playoffs, that Coach Mike Budenholzer would be out of a job. Now, I do want to talk a little bit about your thoughts on Coach Mike Budenholzer. 162-65 in the regular season, and he's 20-12 in the NBA playoffs. Had you told me that a coach with those numbers was on the fringe of losing his job in Milwaukee, where we have not had, historically successful NBA playoff experience, to say he's on the hot seat, I would tell you're crazy. But when you look at the style of play, Giannis bringing the ball up court, not facilitating the offense through Drew Holiday. Maybe you're not using Giannis, in the way that you should use him, down low in the paint. His rotations have been off. The offense has been stagnant. Now, in the regular season, it was the number one offense in National Basketball Association. But the NBA regular season, as we all know, is kind of whatever. It doesn't really do a whole lot. In Coach Bud's defense, he's got a proven record. He's got a track record. There's a guy off of Coach Greg Popovich tree. He's got a proven track record. He plays really good defense. The offense, obviously, at times in the regular season is really good. If you're sitting here watching the Bucks play, what are your thoughts with the Mike Budenholzer situation? Is it a guy that you think is going to need to be fired because of the success he's not having in the postseason?
Well, it's a really interesting topic, because obviously the regular season is one thing, right? Being able to make sure that your team has an excellent record in the regular season, that's great and all. But you need to prove that success. And to prove that success, you need to succeed in the playoffs, right? The postseason, how far they can get in the postseason, is what's going to end up ultimately speaking to the success of your coach and your team overall. Now, I get it, rings and championships, and I know you've argued this plenty of times on your Titletown Lounge with Rhino with regards to football. But at the end of the day, right, in the case of the Bucks and Coach Bud, I mean, if you guys continue to not be able to produce in the postseason and continue to essentially choke, right, with all due respect, Milwaukee, choke in the postseason. Yeah, why do you want to have someone coaching your team that is not going to get you all the way? Why? No Bucks fan wants it. No fan of any NBA professional sports team wants that for their club.
And you're looking at 2019. It's still one of those years where it's looming large. You're going up 2-0 against the Toronto Raptors. in the Eastern Conference Finals. You're the best team in the NBA that year. You're up 2-0. You had a chance to win Game 3 in Toronto, and that game went to overtime on a last-second shot. So, again, 2019 kind of looming large. Obviously, Coach Bud does not make it happen, doesn't make the adjustments. The Toronto Raptors, quote-unquote, invent the wall, so to speak, to stop Giannis. They obviously go on to win the NBA championship that year. And then you had a year last year, which is a year that I don't think you can hold against Coach Bud. And I want your thoughts on last year. Look, they were the best team in basketball last year. They were on pace to win 70 games last year. They were cruising along, number 1 seed in March. COVID-19 hits. Nobody expected it. Obviously, nobody's lived through a pandemic. We didn't know what the heck to do. They stopped playing basketball for 3 months, and then they started back up at the end of July going into August and created the NBA. And I always give credit to the NBA for putting on the bubble, for making it happen.
Absolutely.
But I don't know how you can hold that against Coach Mike Budenholzer. I don't think that year is something that should be held against him. Look, he was doing everything he was supposed to do going up until the playoffs in 2020 prior to COVID-19. What are your thoughts with Coach Bud and the bubble and the second round exit against Miami? It was just a crazy summer. A lot of social injustice, stop and play, COVID-19, bubble, can't leave Disney, masks on. I mean, just a little bit of a mess. I don't think you can hold that year against him.
You know, I don't put all the blame on Coach Bud for what happened last year. Obviously, it was a very turbulent season, right? COVID, everything happened. You know, one of the things, right? We can't. It's very difficult for us to sit here and say, you know, this is what would have happened. This is objectively what would have happened had, you know, so and so not, you know, occurred or had COVID not happened. But you're right. I don't think I would put the entire blame on Coach Bud, but to an extent, you know, you gotta. Coaching has a lot to do with what ends up happening on the court. So, to an extent, yes, it's his fault. I mean, we can't deny that. But a majority of that fault goes to the way that 2020 played out with everything that happened, especially over the summer. I mean, you know, we saw everything that went down with all the protests and whatnot. But still, you know, I think my point still stands about, you know, if this team is just not able to produce in the postseason, at what point do we start to say, all right, you know, maybe it's time to move on. Maybe it's time to find a coach who can actually push us through the entire postseason,
Make changes,
adjust, but adjust in the process. Don't wait till after the season is over to adjust. Make those adjustments throughout the season, throughout the postseason, because that's the only way you're going to accomplish stuff. You're not going to accomplish it if you wait too long. It's just not going to happen.
Look, I mean, he's a successful coach. You're talking about a guy that's hired in May of 2018, won Coach of the Year 2018, 2019, over 160 wins in the NBA, 20-12 in the NBA playoffs. Apparently, to multiple sources, he is on the hot seat. We'll see going forward what that's going to be. Before we let you go, I do want your thoughts. Game 4 tomorrow, 2 o'clock tip. He's also trying to peer pressure me into going down to the Deer District.
He already told me no, so that was the end of my peer pressure. I don't peer pressure people.
So what are your thoughts going into Game 4?
I think that if Milwaukee can continue to be aggressive, we saw what happened on was it yesterday? Was it last night? Last night was the game. No, Thursday night. Thursday night. We saw that standoff between it was PJ Tucker and Kevin Durant out there. That is the kind of aggressiveness that Milwaukee needs to put up. They need to make sure that we need to make sure that they're continuing to be aggressive on the court and that they're able to continue to bring that offense against the Brooklyn Nets. That's the only way they're going to win. Only way they're going to win. My score prediction for tomorrow afternoon, I think the Bucks can pull it off. And I think that we'll get the triple digits this time. 103-94. I think that's
That was close to Rhino.
Yeah. 103 to 94. That is my score.
And the Bucks win.
And the Bucks will win.
Bucks win. Okay.
103-94.
Listen, ladies and gentlemen, real quick, before I let him go, please do yourselves a favor. Follow him on Twitter at Bears Fanatico. Yes, he's a Bears fan. At Bears Fanatico 94. Follow the network. It's full of awesome shows. Beer show, like literally do live beer reviews on a live stream with multiple guests. There's Cubs, there's Alabama, there's the Colts, there's golf podcast. On Point Discussion, probably my favorite show outside of obviously my own shows, but On Point Discussion, you can follow them. I'll let you drop the Twitter tags in a minute. Give the network a chance. Follow them on Twitter at Lounge Room Net. Follow them on Facebook at Lounge Room Network. We're starting to do amazing things, and all these guys are starting. We're coming together, and we're building something special here. So, if you're looking for a podcast, you're looking for a network to follow, that's the one to follow. He's Juan. You can follow him at Bears Fanatico 94. I'm going to let you drop your Twitter handles for your shows, though.
Absolutely. You can find us on Twitter at Talks on Point. Yours truly at Bears Fanatico 94. You all know, and special. Well, I don't know if I should drop special announcements on the show on your show.
Go for it.
For those who are watching, talk at On Point Discussion. Breaking news as of about an hour and a half ago. I will be interviewing a columnist and a journalist from NFL Mexico in Mexico City.
Interesting.
Fully in Spanish, 100% in Spanish. It'll be dropping in July sometime. So, again, just found that out. Just got confirmation earlier this afternoon.
That's awesome.
An official NFL analyst, fantasy football specialist as well, getting his perspective on the international, the football scene, the football market in Mexico. And yes, as much as it pains me to say, there are lots of Green Bay Packer fans in Mexico, but there are also lots of Bears fans in Mexico as well. I'm going to hop out of here, let Brandon finish up the show.
Appreciate you, man.
However, one last thing, though. Again, Brandon is doing awesome on this network. He's doing an amazing job with Brew City Lounge, with Titletown Lounge. Our dude Rhino over there, follow him at Sports Talk Rhino. Guys, Rhino, Brandon, myself, the executives here for the Lounge Room Network. You're doing awesome.
Appreciate you, man.
I appreciate it.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate you, man.
He's going to go ahead and hop off. He's going to go grab some food and some drinks. Look, listen, guys, we are live out here at In Plane View out in Milwaukee, 700 East Layton Avenue. I highly recommend this place. Phenomenal food, phenomenal drinks, phenomenal service, just an all-around awesome. We had a huge busload of guys coming off and gals coming back from the Brewer game. The bar is packed right now. The grill is hot. The oven is hot. The food is so good here. Fried chicken sandwich, really good fish fries. I highly recommend checking them out. In Plane View, formerly known as Brass Monkey, In Plane View over here on 700 East Layton. We got one more topic, guys. I'm not going anywhere. We still got one more topic. A topic that is going to probably create, if you're on the live feed, on Twitter, on Facebook, on YouTube, thank you guys so much. First of all, I want interaction with you guys on this one because this one can get heated and it's very debatable. The greatest Milwaukee Buck ever. Who is, in your opinion, the greatest Milwaukee Buck? My Aunt Michelle's walking around dancing. Who, in your opinion, is the greatest Milwaukee Buck ever? Ever. I want your guys' thoughts. Who, in your opinion, you can go all the way back to the 60s and 70s. Who is your greatest Milwaukee Buck to ever play, who ever put on the uniform for the city of Milwaukee? I got my favorite. I got a guy who I know, who I'm going to defend every single game, even when he has a bad game too, even when he doesn't shoot threes the way he's supposed to shoot them. But there's a couple different things that you can tie into this. Now, era, does it matter? Is it something that you can discuss? Does era matter? If you got a guy like Kareem, does his era differ than obviously Ray Allen's or Giannis? Obviously, it's going to. The game has evolved. The team aspect of the NBA has changed. Talent, from a talent perspective, who's the better player? MVP awards, does hardware matter to you? Is it got to win a title to even be considered to be the greatest ever? Is that something you take in effect? So again, I want your guys' opinion on who is the greatest Milwaukee Buck ever. My opinion is right there on the bottom of the screen. You see it right there. Giannis is the greatest Milwaukee basketball player to ever put on the uniform. Now, look, guys, I know you're going to come at me and call me crazy. And if you want to call me crazy, do it on Twitter. Do it on this live feed. You can follow me on Twitter at Wisco_Brandon. I believe Giannis is the greatest Buck ever. And there's a couple reasons why I believe that. Now, you look at Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Throughout his career, he only played 6 seasons with the Milwaukee Bucks. So we're just going to go down the list here for a little bit. Kareem averaging 30.4 and 15.5 rebounds in his career with the Milwaukee Bucks, 6 seasons. Oscar Robinson, who only played 4 seasons, which actually kind of caught me for a little bit of a surprise. He didn't get to Milwaukee until his age 32, which was also a little bit different. Oscar Robertson, 16.5 points, 7.5 assists in his best year in Milwaukee. You look at a guy like Sidney Moncrief, who's also could possibly be in the discussion, averaging 16.7 and 5 rebounds. Bobby Dandridge, 18.6 and 7.5 rebounds. All of those numbers are really good. But you look at Giannis, and his numbers are a little bit skewed. So over his career for Milwaukee, he's at almost 21 points per game and 9.1 rebounds per game. But if you look over the last 3 seasons, is really when you saw this leap for Giannis kind of take over. You're talking about the last 3 seasons, he's over 27 points per game. His best year for Milwaukee, MVP 2019-2020, averaging almost 30 points per game and over 13.5 rebounds per game. Obviously goes on to win the MVP, almost gets to the NBA Finals. They get upset by the Toronto Raptors, obviously in that series going up 2-0, as we just talked to Juan about, as Coach Mike Budenholzer is apparently on the hot seat. You look at Kareem's best year, 30.4 points per game and 16.6 rebounds. Now, that's really unmatched. But again, when you're comparing those two players, era's got to matter. Where the talent that Kareem was going up against is obviously different than the talent that Giannis is going up. There was no LeBron. There was no Kevin Durant, James Harden, Kyrie Irving, Carmelo Anthony. The era is completely different. There was I think there was 8 teams in the era where Kareem played, and also with Oscar Robinson. So Oscar Robinson's best year, 19.4 points per game and averaged 8.2 assists. I'm talking, who is the greatest Buck ever?
Greatest Buck ever?
Greatest Buck ever.
Well, that'd be Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
My dad's saying Kareem. I'm saying Giannis. I'm saying Giannis because, look.
Well, now Giannis, but back in the day.
I still think it's Giannis even compared to those guys at the back part of their year. No, I'm still on live. My dad's arguing about who's the greatest Buck ever. He's talking Kareem. I'm talking Giannis. Now, there's 2 things.
I'm talking Giannis.
My mom is dropping in with Giannis. My dad automatically gets outvoted when it comes to Giannis. Look, a kid from Greece came from nowhere. Now you hear a lot about, players in the NBA, players in the NFL, Major League Baseball that come from nowhere. They don't really have a background. They just come up off the streets. This guy was literally on the street selling jewelry for his family. And you could fast forward to when he started his first few years in the NBA. Giannis was living at the practice facility. He was sharing his shoes with his brothers growing up while they were in the same game, swapping out shoes. Now, that's not why I think Giannis is the best player, but where he's come from, who he has become for this city, how loyal he's been to the fans of Milwaukee and the city of Milwaukee, taking the Supermax. He could have went anywhere, knowing that this is where he grew up, knowing that this is home for him. I think Giannis is the greatest Milwaukee Buck to ever put on the uniform. And it's not taking anything away from guys like Kareem and Oscar Robinson, who obviously won a championship in the 70-71 season. I'm not taking that away. But I think when you're discussing the greatest of all time, and you can have the argument for NBA who's the greatest of all time, but we're lowering it down to just the Milwaukee Bucks. So I want your guys' thoughts. I got a couple comments on here. Kareem, Bobby Dandridge got a vote, and another Kareem. I'm not against any of those. You could obviously make the argument that Kareem is the greatest Buck of all time, but I don't think it's a stretch to sit here and say that Giannis is the greatest Buck of all time. And there's numbers that point to that. Look, when Giannis was drafted, nobody knew who he was. Nobody knew where he came from. There was barely any footage about him playing basketball in Greece and playing in high school at the college level, at the college age. We didn't know who Giannis was. We didn't know anything about him. he was a kid that John Hammond was following along for quite some time, and look, he's turned into almost like a family member for fans of Milwaukee. Now, I don't know Giannis. I've met him one time at his MVP celebration. I don't know anything about him outside of everything that everybody else knows about him. But what I do know about Giannis is that he's loyal. He loves this city. Keep in mind, Kareem did not. Now, at the time that Kareem was demanding trades, obviously things were a little bit different in the city of Milwaukee. So I'm not gonna blame Kareem for wanting to leave. He just didn't fit in to the city of Milwaukee. Now, if you go back and follow the show, or if you do follow the show and you heard the interview with Bucks legend John McLaughlin, he kind of broke down a little bit of what that Kareem dysfunction was about, why he wanted out, certain things. So if you're not subscribed to the show on Spotify, Apple, Google, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. You can listen to that interview with John McLaughlin. Some awesome conversation there. But he alluded to how Giannis just kind of grew and grew and grew, and every year got better. Every year got better. And guys, he's only 26. He's going to get better. And I'm going to tell you right now, for all the Giannis doubters out there, for all the people that want to hate on Giannis, his style of play, him taking the shots, Giannis is going to win an NBA championship. He's going to do it, guys. He's going to do it in this city, in this state, in this area. He is going to bring us home an NBA championship. It may not be this year. There's a good chance it may not be this year. Maybe it's next year, maybe the year after. But I'm going to tell you right now, Giannis is going to bring home a championship for us, and he's going to do it with the style of play. Now, we can go back to the Coach Mike Budenholzer talk that he's not being utilized the proper way. There's things that he should be doing differently, yada, yada, yada. And you might be right on a lot of those. And in fact, I agree with you. I think he needs to be utilized in a different way. But Giannis is, in my opinion, the greatest Milwaukee Buck. Now, my dad drops in a comment, don't forget about Oscar Robinson. And I agree. Oscar Robinson deserves to have a little bit of talking about. He only played 4 seasons in Milwaukee. I don't think that qualifies for him to be considered the greatest Milwaukee Buck ever. Now, he's in that discussion for the top 3, top 5, whatever number really, maybe, yeah, probably top 3. But I think playing only 4 seasons here, Giannis is here. So far, he's played 10. Kareem only lasted 6 seasons before he demanded a trade. I think it's safe to say that Giannis is the greatest Milwaukee Buck ever. Look, in an era where there's scoring, there's flopping, there's really not a whole lot of defense, winning an MVP award and Defensive Player of the Year award in the same year, one of only 3 players to do it. And I said it on the podcast last night. Michael Jordan and Hakeem Olajuwon and Giannis Antetokounmpo are the only 3 players to have won those 2 awards within the same year. That means something. That carries some kind of weight. I think that with basketball fans, we like to go out there and see the guys jacking up threes and seeing the guys shoot, 40%, 50% from threes and have, crazy shooting games. That's not Giannis's game. That's not who he's going to be. I want to see him be utilized in a different way, but being able to not have a shot, so to speak, to not be able to have a lot of, outside game at all, to be able to average almost 30 points, 13 and a half rebounds, almost 6 assists. I think that carries some weight. Like, that's more impressive to me than Steph Curry. Steph Curry's averaging 30 points and he's shooting 45% from the 3. Okay. He's scoring at a different rate. Look, they're building the wall against Giannis and he's still averaging almost 30 points. We got a few comments coming on here. I'm going to get to them real quick. My cousin Kyle, shout out to Kyle. Kyle is here hanging out with us. We're at In Plane View over here on 700 East Layton Avenue out in Milwaukee. He says, Giannis and your greatest guest to date, John McLaughlin. Shout out to Kyle. Yes, John McLaughlin was on the show. Kyle agrees with me. He goes with Giannis as the best Buck. Kyle Simpson, who drops a comment on Twitter. Kyle, thank you so much for tuning into the show. I appreciate you tuning into the show. I hope I have you back viewing the show later on. He says best Buck, yes. Best 3-point shooter. Again, that's another discussion. I think obviously the obvious answer is probably Ray Allen. You could also say maybe Michael Redd. I think Michael Redd is underrated when it comes to the product that he put out wasn't, again, when Michael Redd was playing with the Milwaukee Bucks, three-point shooting wasn't really prevalent. It wasn't in the game like it is now. Steph Curry kind of changed that. If Michael Redd was playing now, I mean, you could even say if Ray Allen was playing now, I think those guys are scoring a lot more. They're probably shooting a whole heck of a lot more. And if I'm missing a three-point shooter, you can get back to me. I think if I'm gonna tell you right now, and I asked John McLaughlin the same question. If the three-point line had been invented with John McLaughlin, I think you're looking at him where he's only at 9,000 points for his career. I think you're probably looking at double that, maybe more than that, with John McLaughlin with the three-point line and the rainbow arc that he had. So a couple people on here. Another guy drops in, EM402. He's on Twitter. He says Kareem. Look, guys, the easy answer is Kareem. Like, yeah, you're absolutely right. If you say Kareem, if you're on the live feed, on the live chat, and you do say Kareem, I agree with you. Like, I can't really argue it. The guy in his best year with Milwaukee, that championship team, he averaged almost 35 points and 17 rebounds. Like, you can't argue that Kareem's not in that discussion. If you sit here and say Kareem is your greatest Milwaukee Buck to ever play, you're probably right. Like, I'm not going to argue that. I won't argue, or I will argue Oscar. I don't think Oscar, he's in the top three. Only playing 4 seasons. He's kind of pedestrian. Pretty good for a point guard, though. 16.5 points and 7.5 assists per game. That's still pretty good. I think that the discussion's fun, though. Like, it's fun to have. Like, there's a lot of factors. Like, there's a lot of different things that go into the greatest of all time. What are some of your factors? Like, do you discuss era? Does era matter to you? Kareem only played against like 10 teams at the time of the NBA season. There wasn't a whole lot of obviously the league was still evolving, so there wasn't a whole lot of teams. Now, does that matter to you? What talent did Kareem have that Giannis doesn't have? Jump hook, sky hook, the inventor of the sky hook? Yeah, sure. But we haven't seen a guy like Giannis in this city on this team, maybe NBA either. A guy that takes 3 steps from half court to dunk in the ball. I think when you say Kareem had unmatched talent, I think you could say the same thing for Giannis. His talent was also unmatched. So I lean towards Giannis. I appreciate everybody's answer out on the live chat, on Twitter, on Facebook, on YouTube. Look, if you're on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button. Leave a review. If you're on Facebook, on Twitter, follow us on Twitter at Brew City Pod. You can follow me on Twitter at Wisco_Brandon. You can also follow the show, follow the show on YouTube. All kinds of fun stuff. Lots of fun guests lined up. Look, it's a Milwaukee podcast. We're at a Milwaukee bar, breaking down the Milwaukee Bucks and the Milwaukee Brewers. How much better does it get? How much better does it get than talking about our favorite teams? This podcast at Brew City Lounge on Twitter and Facebook, this is what you get, guys. This is a local show. Born and raised in this city. This is what I do. This is my passion. These are my teams. I will defend them. I will argue them. I will fight them when they need to be fought. And it's a good time to be a Milwaukee Brewers fan and Milwaukee Bucks fan. You're looking at the Brewers in first place in the NL Central, 10 games over 500. They win tonight 7-4 against the Pittsburgh Pirates. They're in first place in the NL Central. It's going to be a dogfight with the Chicago Cubs all summer long. So it's the best time to be a Milwaukee Brewer fan. It's the best time to be a Milwaukee Bucks fan. If you're down at the Deer District tomorrow, be loud. If you're going to the Pfizer Forum tomorrow, be loud. I hope the Bucks come out, and you're going to get my prediction here for the game tomorrow. I hope the Bucks come out and win Game 4 again. In my opinion, guys, I think if the Milwaukee Bucks do win tomorrow, I think you're going to see them win the series. I think you're going to see them put the pressure back on Brooklyn and win the series. I'm still kind of debating back and forth in my head right now a prediction for tomorrow. First off, I hate Milwaukee in day games. I just don't necessarily like them. I think that they perform. They're slow when it comes to it. That first game against Miami was a day game. Now, I know they won the game, but it was just ugly from start to finish. So I'm hesitant on taking the Bucks to win. I do think that if they do win, though, I think that this team will eventually go on to win the series. Look, again, like I said at the beginning of the show, Brooklyn is the favorite. They're supposed to be the favorite. They're supposed to be here. They were supposed to win the first 2 games. You could argue they were supposed to win them by the margin that they won them. You got arguably the best scorer to ever play a game, in Kevin Durant. You got a top 3 point guard year in and year out in Kyrie Irving. This is where the Milwaukee Bucks were supposed to be. They're supposed to be down in this series. Brooklyn is supposed to win. So going forward, it's going to be interesting to see if and when there's adjustments made by Coach Mike Budenholzer. There's going to, according to The Athletic and according to the Real GM, there's articles that came out within the last few days. Yesterday, I believe this morning on Real GM. If the Milwaukee Bucks have a thud exit, that this is going to be Coach Mike Budenholzer, his last year. So it's going to be interesting to see if there's any adjustments. He obviously played his guys plus 40 minutes in Game 3 in a must-win game where Giannis and Chris Middleton scored almost 80% of their points. So obviously you're going to have that bench that needs to step up. Drew Holiday's going to have to step up. I do think that both of those things come true. That Bryn Forbes game is looming, and I think it's going to happen tomorrow. I think Bryn Forbes explodes for 4 to 5 3-pointers. Bobby Portis adds about 10 points, and I think you're going to see a Bucks team come out with a little bit of energy. Punch him in the face. Punch Brooklyn right in the mouth. Come out there and just play your game. You get the crowd on your side. Brooklyn knows Game 3 was a game they absolutely could have and probably should have won. They missed a lot of open looks, so did the Milwaukee Bucks. But if you beat Brooklyn in Game 4, Brooklyn is going to be looking over their shoulder at that Game 3. They're going to be kicking themselves that they did not get Game 3 in a very winnable game on the road in Milwaukee. Had they gone up 3-0 in that series, obviously Brooklyn would have probably won. Being up 3-0, I don't think any team has come back from 3-0 in the playoffs. So you could also make the comparison that Game 3 against the Brooklyn Nets was very similar to that 2019 Game 3 against the Toronto Raptors. Now, keep in mind, Milwaukee was up 2-0 and had a chance to go up 3-0 in Toronto in a very winnable game in Toronto. And they had every opportunity to win that game. Obviously, Toronto won. It went to overtime. The series, obviously, everybody knows what happened. Toronto went on to win the NBA championship. Toronto turned around and won 4 straight games. So it's very similar to the 2019 playoffs when Milwaukee could have and should have probably won that series. The same can be said for this Brooklyn Nets team. They're supposed to be here. They're supposed to win. So I think the Milwaukee Bucks win Game 4. I think it's 112-107. The Milwaukee Bucks do. Let's get a prediction from my dad. He's got
Bucks in 6.
He's got Bucks in 6 tomorrow. They win or lose?
They win easily.
They win easily. What's the score?
102-88.
102-88. A big win out of the voice of my dad. So it's going to be interesting to say the least. Game 4 down at the Fiserv tomorrow at 2 p.m. If you're able to be down at the Deer District or if you're able to go to the game, I highly recommend it. Check it out. It's going to be electric down there. Guys, that will do it for this episode of the Brew City Lounge. Again, coming to you live from In Plane View out in Milwaukee, 700 East Layton Avenue. Highly recommend coming out, checking out their menu, a brand new ownership, brand new owner, huge bar, awesome tables. They got pool tables, dartboards. They got the jukebox playing. They got the slot poker. They got all kinds of fun stuff. Highly recommend checking it out. The best fish fry, in my opinion, in the city of Milwaukee. They got really good chicken fried sandwich. Come out here if you do stop in because you're listening to the show. Let them know the Brew City Lounge sent you. And we look forward to doing another live show. And if there's a bar out there, guys, next week, Friday, is my Brew City bar review. So if there's a bar out there that you want me to review, you want me to go there and check out, you want me to check out their menu, go there and check out their location. Follow me on Twitter. Hit me up on Twitter or Facebook at Wisco_Brandon. Let me know what your thoughts are. I will stop over there. I will review that bar, and we will try to do a live show at least once a month going forward, covering the Milwaukee Bucks and the Milwaukee Brewers. But that will do it for today's show. Have a great night. Your first place Milwaukee Brewers. Your Milwaukee Bucks going into a must-win big game, Game 4 tomorrow. So if you're in the area, cheer them on. Make your voice be heard down at the Fiserv, down at the Deer District. As always, as it always is, every week, every show, every post game. It's an absolute honor and a privilege to be here with you guys talking about our favorite teams. Of course, I'm talking about the Milwaukee Bucks and Milwaukee Brewers. I will see you guys tomorrow after the Milwaukee Bucks game. Win, lose, or draw, like I said, we are here for our teams. I will be doing a post-game show after the Bucks obviously beat the Brooklyn Nets. But that will do it for today's show. If you're not subscribed to the show, first off, if you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. If you're not subscribed to the show or following the show, find us on Spotify, Google, Apple. Hit that subscribe button, leave a review. It'd be greatly, greatly appreciated. You can follow me on Twitter at Wisco_Brandon. And, of course, follow the shows on Twitter, on Facebook at Brew City Pod. That will do it for today's show. I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful Saturday night. It is gorgeous out here in the city of Milwaukee as we look over to the airport. I hope you guys have a phenomenal Saturday evening. Have a great rest of your weekend. As always, go Bucks, go Brewers. Have a great weekend, and I will talk to you soon, Milwaukee. Later.